So the trick of this is to do it very subtly and to dilute the inks down to a very pale lead. So whilst, if you look at these ink colours, very bright, let's just emulate that. If you mix carmine and the pastel yellow in this instance, you get a lovely orangey colour, a bit more carmine actually, really beautiful bright orange colour. And if I put the blue in it, I'm going to get the browns. What I wanted to show you before that, let's just take it away, that's my test strip, is this colour I can now add to my bracken. And what you can do is, if you've got a colour that's a bit dull in a painting done like this, remember this is acrylic with diluted down, inks will pep it up hugely. So I think I was saying to flower paintings in watercolour exhibitions, there's a 90% chance the artists have used inks because you get such incredibly bright colours. If you want to paint a camellia or whatever it is, make it look really bright, inks might be the way. But you don't get a second chance with inks. It goes in and it goes in permanently. So if I'm going to get any dribbles now, which I am deliberately trying to create it, just making this bracken a bit more orange, I've got to have my tissues ready in case it's dribbles. So I just collect those dribbles there. And if I want it to soften into the paper, I've got to be really quick because, again, you get hard edges straight away with ink. They dry much more quickly than watercolours or diluted acrylics do. So that's just giving an extra glow to this bracken area. I did the same here with green, by the way, on top of these colours to see if I could get the green to sharpen. I could, even though it's pale. But let's get some darker colours here on the ground, it's a leafy ground. So I'm now adding to the same mix ultramarine, which gives a lovely purpley colour. So that's the crimson with the ultramarine, so really rich purple, but I don't want it quite as bright as that, so we now add some yellow to the same mixture. And that browns it down, so we've got, I've converted the purple into brown, which is what I want. Now the trick here is to have a second brush ready with water. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put some strips of water on here, paint this brown, it's quite pale at the moment, just flick it over, and by leaving some dry places on the paper, I will enable me to get soft edges and sharp edges. You see, so it's just building the colour up. Let's go a bit stronger. And what I'm doing now is what I call chasing the colour. So I've got a damp surface with the first colour on, and I'm just putting on strips of colour into the damp surface. So it looks a bit striking, but it will slowly soften out. And I'm going to build a bit more blue into that. So this is just the ultramarine blue to get into the darker shadows. But I want these shadows to still have light in them. And in fact, I've got shadows coming up underneath the bracken here, so I'm going to produce a bit of that with the tip of the brush. And it's, can you get this nice and dark without it being too opaque and too overworked? So we're getting closer. Do you see where I'm aiming at? I'm not quite going to that colour because I want to have it slightly more autumnal. And then we just increase the, again, I'm just touching a tiny bit of the blue, bringing into the mixture. If I put in too much, you'll get the too dark a shade. And then again, just working over it. So I'm putting on, I suppose this is the third, if not the fourth layer of paint connected up to the shadows under the tree here. I can also bring this colour into some of the shadows on the trunk of the tree. And if I do that, just using the second brush to soften them as I go. Let's go darker on the tree trunk up here. Again, soften it into the rest of the trunk. Same up here, let's put some dark down that side of that branch. Switch brushes, soften it in quickly. You have to do it straight away because otherwise the colour's locked into place. Same up here, just want it darker at the top. And then I soften it in, darker down one side, soften it in, because this is a very round, smooth branch. So it's just working back into the shapes. So not only can I deepen the ground colour here, I can deepen the branches individually with very subtle additions of colour, and I can keep building it up. And I can do it in more layers than I would be able to with watercolour. That's the main point. It's all about building up subtle layers of colour and getting them all in. Here we are. I'm going to put a little bit of shadow onto that branch. I chase it with my damp brush immediately to soften it in. It's possibly a hint too pink, so let's just see if I can add a bit more blue and yellow. Yeah, that's nice. So I've now got a brown coming out, this sort of colour, which is exactly what I want. And again, that paper is still slightly damp, so I will get slightly soft edges, which is what I like on these shadows, where they meet damp areas. What I'm still trying to do is create a play of light that focuses the eye into the woodland here, rather than just wanders around the place. By creating this dark, this area will seem a bit brighter. So it's building it up. So I don't know, is that 5 washes of colour possibly to get to that stage? And I can do the same thing in my woods at the back, put some more shadows underneath my holly tree. I can also get the colour to show up on top of leaves if I want to put some more trees through the gaps here. I'm just